Alright, guys, today I'm going to be going over why I personally don't think that it's worth keeping your money in a bank for long term. At least for me personally, I don't do it long term. That's because for money market accounts right now in my area, the current interest rate at a bank, at most banks, it's 0.09%, not even 1/10 of 1%. For savings accounts, it's 0.06%, and for checking accounts, it's 0.03%. So, using the rule of 72, which states if you take 72 and divide it by the interest rate that you are working with for that equation, you get the number of years that it'll take to double whatever amount you have in there. Um, it doesn't matter if it's $100, $1,000, $10,000. If that's what you have in that account, this is how long it'll take to double that. For money market accounts, it takes 800 years to double your money. For savings accounts, it takes 1,200 years to double your money. And for checking accounts, yeah, I'm saying that right. For checking accounts, 0.03%, it takes 2,400 years to double your money at the current rates. I don't know about any of you guys, but I am definitely not living that long, so it's not worth it. Compared to what I can get with compound interest and dividend rates in the market, uh, a regular bank account isn't worth it to me. Plus, on the top of that, for every $1 that you have in your bank account, the bank can loan that dollar out up to 10 times. So they can lend it out for things like loans for other people, um, capital and venture things, startup stuff, and they don't have to ask you. You're keeping your money there, so while they have hold of that money, they're gonna lend it out. Um, and another thing that I don't like about banks is that if you do have a decent amount of money in the bank, uh, you're gonna be hard pressed to be able to just stroll in and say, "Hey, I want a certain amount," especially if it's $10,000 or more. That's for tax IRS reasons, and the bank just most banks just don't carry that amount of cash on hand or enough to cover that, plus cover their other um, clients as well. So for most banks, if you want something in cash, they're gonna push really hard for a cashier's check if you're hitting the $10,000 and above mark. And a lot of banks push pretty hard for it at the $1,000 mark and above, but that's for different reasons. So if you do want $10,000 or more, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to call ahead. You're gonna have to make sure you have your ID, proof of where you live, all that good stuff. And quite often, most banks will require a written explanation of what you want the funds for, so they can use that to cover their butts with the IRS. If you say it's for one thing and you use it for something shady, then they can say, "Hey, we didn't know." So that's what they use to cover themselves, but it's also very inconvenient. And a lot of times, even when you do bring that stuff in, you still have to wait 3 to 5 days for the bank to get a shipment in so they can cover that for you, especially if you push pretty hard for cash. Um, with that, you can be accused of structuring, which I don't like about banks. If it's my money, I want to have access to it. Um, but once you hit the $10,000 mark, the IRS steps in, and certain red flags are alerted in their data banks. But if you do two payments of 5,000 or a payment of or two payments of 9,000 or whatever, just below that mark, and there's multiple payments of roughly about the same amount that add up to more than the $10,000, they can still come after you and say, "Hey, um, we think you're trying to avoid this fee or this tax. We think you're being shady. So this is what we think you're doing, and they can come after you for that. If they can prove it decently, then you're in a little bit of trouble there. So that's a bit frustrating with the banks. Um, a lot of times, a lot of banks portray what I feel is like a false image of success. Um, like you have to have a bank account in order to be successful or do anything, which you do need access to some form of capital storage, but it doesn't have to be a bank. There are plenty of other options, and you can a lot of times you can get better results on your returns with the other options. I use stocks in place of banks quite often. A lot of times I only have enough in the bank to cover my day-to-day bills or my monthly bills. Um, I rarely have anything in savings. If I do have enough or have anything in savings, that's the stuff that I move to the stock markets because I can get a much better return than 0.03%. Just on my own in the stocks, the way that I do it, I average between the last two years, I've gotten because of COVID and everything, it was a little bit low. This year, I'm on track to do about 18%, which is still pretty good, considering everything that's going on. Um, Last year, I was at 23%, so that's not too bad. That's a heck of a lot better than 0.03. And last year, I really didn't know very much of what I was doing in the stock market. It was very much a trial and error year for me, but I still did pretty dang good. I had some really good mentors, and I still look up to those guys. I read and listen to everything they put out, and you just really have to educate yourself. The stocks that I do buy, I don't ever intend to sell because I view it as purchasing ownership in that company, and I want to own more of the companies I'm interested in, not less. And I'm not investing just to say, hey, hold on to my money for 30 days or 90 days. No, I'm investing because I want to own part of that company. So there's a couple reasons why I don't really like the banks. A lot of it has to do with the interest and the rate of return on your money. Just is not worth it long term. If you're gonna have a bank account, in my opinion, it's for me. I only use the bank for short term things and for like daily, monthly bills primarily. Other than that, I I handle cash in other ways, so and capital in other ways. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. What your opinions are on certain things, definitely leave a comment and I'll get back to you. So.